Let me take a question from Siraj Lakhani, please. Siraj.
Should Tony Blair face trial for war crimes?
Should Tony Blair face trial for war crimes? Ian Hislop.
Well, I mean, there is going to be a section of the public that will only be satisfied if Chilcot's first statement had said he should be strung up outside Parliament Square with a huge baying mob. That isn't going to happen. The International Criminal Court said they deal with battlefield atrocities. We're trying to talk about keeping it within legal structures. It would have to be a legal structure that tried Tony Blair. There's talk of MPs arraigning him. There's, talk of legal challenges. The whole point of the very first question is, should we have toppled Saddam? The idea is it's possible to say yes, but it should have been done legally under international law with sufficient planning. So should we just say, yes, let's string him up? I think probably no. I think we should wait for the legal procedure to pan out of what you can do with him. But look at him. You gave a speech. This is a haunted man. I mean, the toxicity of his legacy is extraordinary, and Chilcot has now banged it in. I mean, he is literally going to wander the earth doing after-dinners for Kazakhstan toilet companies. That is his punishment. So I think not, and I think Tom's absolutely right. We shouldn't make it all about Blair. Essentially, the British Army lost 2 wars. We don't make a big deal about that, but we lost in Iraq and we lost in Afghanistan, and that's not great. I mean, that is worth an inquiry.
OK. Both the Shadow Chancellor and the Labour leader said there should be legal action. Do you think there should be legal action taken against Blair?
No, I don't think legal action should be taken against Blair. He was the Prime Minister at the time. He had to make incredibly difficult decisions about what to do at the time when the world was in flux because of 9/11 and the pressures that created. He made a decision, honestly, in what he believed to be the best interests of the United Kingdom. He may have got it wrong, but it was honestly in the best interests, as he saw it, of the United Kingdom. He wasn't acting in any way deceptively or dishonestly, but what he thought was best for the country.
No, that's not what the report says.
The report makes it clear that he did not deceive anybody. It makes it clear that he did not...
memos with George Bush.
He had discussions with George Bush, but at no stage did he keep secret from the country what the issues were. And Ian was right when he said what the issues were about whether we went to war or not were apparent to the country. And it was a difficult decision, and the country was divided. But he had a clear view about that.
The country didn't know that he'd already committed to a decision which didn't involve them.
So John Chilcot's report finds that there was no secret agreement to go to war. He made it clear that he would not go unless there was proper authorisation from the United Nations, which he believed that he had from Resolution 1441.
But just...
What about I will be with you, whatever?
He says, I will be with you, whatever, in that memo in July.
What does that mean?
He says, but he then sets out a basis.
I will be with you, whatever, but this, and this, and this. But he didn't say...
But, actually, let's not let that lie be written into the record. They're saying that the next word is but.
Yeah.
But the next word isn't but. There are a series of things to sell it that Blair then suggests.
I think the next word actually is but.
I think it is but.
It is but.
Charlie,
unfortunately, it is but.
I know.
Sorry. The next word is but.
But it doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter.
There's no qualification to the word whatever. Whatever.
All right.
The position...
All right, come to the war crimes issue.
Yeah.
Because can you answer that one?
Yes,
Do you think he should
yes.
face criminal charges?
Charlie used to be his flatmate, but you don't have to hide his dirty laundry any longer. You're a grown man now. He is already facing legal action. The families of the bereaved, the bereaved families of the soldiers are right now sitting with their lawyers, preparing legal actions for the loss of their children or husbands through his recklessness and negligence and misuse of public office, malfeasance in public office.
Do you think that that's the way to go, not through the courts, not through the Hague?
The ICC has said they won't take the case.
Do you think they're right to say that?
Thing, no, I think they're wrong to say it, and I think it will be challenged.
So the Hague should say that it is a criminal offence under international law to go to war.
I believe the only proper place where Tony Blair should be talking about the war is in the dock at the Hague. Right. That's what I believe.
Okay. I'll come back to the man up there. You were saying the third row from the back. Yes.
Tony Blair took responsibility for the legal decision, and that's a debate as well, but he also has to take responsibility for the campaign as a whole, which the planning both prior to and after the conflict was absolutely abysmal. It was more dangerous in the years after Iraq than it was in 2003 when I was there.
And you were there as a soldier?
I was there in the army as a soldier, that's right.
For how long?
I was in Kuwait from January and went into Iraq, came back in June of 2003.
What do you make of what Tom said a moment ago about the leadership of the army and that it was letting you down?
I think he makes a very fair point, and I think it was the responsibility of the army generals to raise the issue because fundamentally there were unconscionable events that occurred, even small ones, such as the lack of body armour, that have exacerbated this whole thing.
That's not that small if you're facing bullets.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
His exact words were, "I will be with you no matter what." There were no WMDs found. He lied to us, he lied to the government, and as a direct result of his lies, 149 soldiers' blood are now on his hands. He should pay the price and he should be done for war crimes. End of.
I think the problem is if the ICC have already said that they're not going to do that. But I do believe that everything that you said just now is correct. Tony Blair was absolutely determined to make the case for war, regardless of the legality, the evidence and the strategy, including the post-invasion planning, which was not just woeful but catastrophic for the region as a whole. And absolutely there are problems there. He's not the only person. I suspect that the families bringing cases is probably the only formal way that there will be any action. But I think the moral side, Tony Blair absolutely understands that the majority of people in this country are appalled by the actions both of him and of some of his colleagues. And Chilcot has made plain those actions, the failure of government and the failure of planning. And yet again, we fought a war using the last weapons from the previous war. The Northern Ireland equipment was wrong. It took us too long in Afghanistan to learn that lesson as well. We absolutely have to make sure that our armed forces have learnt those lessons for the future.
Okay, you said the second order.
I was in Northern Ireland for a long time, and I lived there. I was in the wars in Northern Ireland as well. But while I was there, I met a lot of refugees from Iraq. And going back to the first question, do you think it's right to have got rid of Saddam Hussein? No, I don't think it's right to have got rid of him, because I met these refugees, and they were refugees from. As I said, he was a dictator, but he was in control of the country. There was Shiites and Sunnis fighting against each other. And the families who were in Northern Ireland, they were better off, and they were. But I tell you something: when Britain invaded Kuwait, Iraq, the refugee families, the students who were studying here, doctors, they were locked up. They were in a worse state just for being Iraqis in the country.
Okay. Tom Tugendhat, just last point on war trial.
Well, look, I'm not a lawyer, but I think you'd be hard-pressed to say that the 2.6 million words that make up the Chilcot Report do not condemn him very, very severely already. And I find myself thinking very hard, actually, these days, again, about the 179 servicemen who were killed. Because, of course, for those of us who served, as you did, sir, it's not a list of numbers, it's a list of names, some of whom are our friends. And, of course, for each one who was injured, there were many more. Sorry, for each one who was killed, there were many more who were injured. And many of my friends now are living with the injuries of that war. Some of them are physical, some of them are mental. And I find it very difficult to look dispassionately at it. But I do appreciate that my job now is not as a judge and jury. I'll leave that to the lawyers. But it's to make sure that we never find ourselves in a situation like that again, which is why I'm very glad that a few changes have happened already, and I will be asking for more. That we've got a National Security Council at which senior diplomats, senior military officers and the Attorney General are all expected to speak up. They're all expected to challenge. I think that's a really important change.
Okay. But he will be the jury if there's an impeachment in the House, and I think that there will be.
An impeachment in the House?
Yes, I think that Alex Salmond and others are going to bring forward a motion to impeach Tony Blair at the bar of the House, huckled in under manners by Black Rod and the Sergeant-at-Arms. Wouldn't that be a fine day, indeed?
Okay. I'll take a couple more points and then we move on to another subject. You, sir, waving your hand at me with the grey hair there and the spectacles.
Right, yeah, isn't it outrageous that we see Tony Blair with armed police officers and a protection squad and a bulletproof and a bomb-proof car when the troops had none of that equipment?
Okay. And you, sir, a last point. Yes, you've both got your hands up, both briefly, if you would, and then we'll go on.
Yeah, I was in the army at that time when I was in the Household Cavalry based in Knightsbridge, and a lot of the guys that were going out there who were based in Windsor didn't want to go out, didn't believe in the war, but they did it because it was their job and because they had to do it. So you've got this fall down from all of that. We went to war to hold Saddam Hussein accountable for his actions. So who's going to be accountable for these actions? Tony Blair? Someone else?
What?
No one?
What do you make of what Chilcot said?
I haven't read the report, to be honest. I've only seen the information that's been fed to me by the media, but it seemed honest and quite straightforward to what how it began in the first place. So.
And the man on your left there.
I find it unbelievable that one of your panel members is sat here still defending Tony Blair after all the information has been given by this audience and the rest of the panel. I think it's disgusting that you defend him.
I do defend him for the reasons that I've given already. I've made it clear I thought the decision was wrong, and I still speak up for him because he achieved a lot, but this issue is a really, really difficult issue, and I accept the findings of Chilcot.
Okay.
David, can I just say, I mean, I accept all the points everyone's making, but I think it's just worth remembering that 250 people died last weekend in one bomb blast in Baghdad. One! Yes, we've got to learn lessons about ourselves, but, I mean, there's pretty huge repercussions in Iraq, and there's some very good foreign correspondence reports at the moment saying, do you know, they're not that bothered by our soul-searching, they're just still angry.
OK. We'll go on to a completely different topic, one on which we had as many questions as we did on that first one this week. Chloe Garrett-Dyke. Chloe Garrett-Dyke.
In light of the misleading Leave campaign and a complete lack of a plan, is the referendum result really a legitimate mandate for us to leave the EU?